Hello and welcome back to the Doctor Who Marathon. I'm your host McEdam, and today we're going to be talking about Red, written by Stuart Sturgold. Sorry, I butchered that. This is the first story he did for Doctor Who. In Big Finish, he's mostly known for writing the spin-offs, particularly Bernice Summerfield, and I think he did some of the units and some of the Torchwoods. I'm not quite sure, but this is the first one he did for Doctor Who itself. This is way back in 2006. And around this time, what Big Finish were doing was essentially making the timeline of the Doctor's personality a bit more scattered all over the place. To basically treat the Seventh Doctor as if he's always been this dark manipulator, which we get to know him from the later stories. So in this story, we get a Seventh Doctor, which is more in line with later stories, but with Mel this time instead of the next companion, which we'll get on to when we talk about that era. And my God, really I should just say, go listen to this one. This is the first story in this marathon of the Seventh Doctor's era in our marathon that I fell in love with. The idea, the concept of it is so cool, and it fits the Seventh Doctor era perfectly. Even with the Mel stuff, it fits. It's really dark. It's really messed up. It still has that kind of campiness, which is commonplace for Seventh Doctor, specifically the Mel era. But here, the campiness, shall we say, is to enlighten, to make the dark stuff just like absurdly dark. So that's really interesting to know. So here's the official Big Finish CD cover, right by there. And that's really cool. You got like Sylvester McCoy's face there, looking very concerned. I don't know why. Yeah, but anyway. And this is the DVD cover I've printed out. This I've got from Deviant Art. I can't remember the name of it. I think it's just like Big Finish DVD. And they do, whoever did these did a bang up job. I can't remember if I replaced, I think in the original DeviantArt version, the Sylvester McCoy images with the earlier version. So there's the cover for the DVD, which is really cool. Here's the spine, if anyone is interested. Oh, hold on, let me get Sylvester McCoy's face there. You mean me? There you go. And, of course, here's the back, which kind of gives it away that this isn't one of mine. That is an almost awesome image of the Guyver there. So basically what's happened is that the Doctor had some sort of attack from time, or at least the way he explains it is that it was the TARDIS that got some sort of attack. And because the Doctor was connected to its telepathic circuits, he felt the attack of the TARDIS, which has led him to the Needle, a sentient building which homes a particular group of people who have these microchips augmented into their brains, which actually kind of like alters and rewrites like memories and people's like intents and stuff. And basically what we learn is the Doctor and Mel are in this society which is basically, I wouldn't say controlled, but is manipulated, shall I say, by this by this AI intelligence called the White. Oh my god, the White Noise. That's the one, the White Noise. And essentially, what it does is that they explain it that originally it was everybody, but now it's only the people who live inside this thing called the Needle. This city, this civilization, has removed the ability to create any sort of violence. They can still think about it, but they can never actually act upon it. Basically, everybody who lives outside the Needle, they can hurt everybody, but they just choose not to. And the people who live inside the Needle, the brain implanted in their heads stops them. However, there seems to be murderings going along. However, not everything is perfect in a society, as there seems to be some sort of malfunctioning. A group of people just suddenly start becoming obsessed with the colour red. They just say red, 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 and they start strangling people and killing people. And what makes this story really interesting, what makes this story really phenomenal, is this concept. Because basically these people have denied themselves the right to act out in violence. So these people have kind of become obsessed with violence. They start watching like blood sports, they research and are fascinated by the concept of pain and suffering. There's even a bit where this character who she believes her memory has been altered because White Noise can do that. He can alters people's memories so that they can they're better off not causing any violence. And this girl, she goes to her friend who, because she denied herself the right of violence, she almost kind of like sees violence as a sort of art. And there's a great line which basically sums up why this story is so good. I hope you're well, kind of like a goodbye greeting. This character goes, I hope you come to some harm. Thank you. As if like that's like a normal thing to say. That's just messed up. Mel and the Doctor get separated pretty early on. The Doctor discovers these two dead bodies. It turns out that there's this thing where people become obsessed with the colour red. They start repeating the word red, and they actually cause harm. They actually start strangling their loved ones. We actually see one of this take play as this husband starts going, he starts saying like he really hates his wife, which is very unusual for him as it's been described. And then suddenly he starts like going, red, I must have the red, 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 as his wife gets strangled to death. Now the Doctor witnessing this, he basically meets up with the leader, this guy, and he meets up with like the main AI of White Noise. And the Doctor's basically like, this is absurd, this is a mockery. He does like a really big, long speech about the necessary need for humans to be allowed to cause violence. The ability to cause violence is, in effect, an important aspect of humanity. However, before the Doctor can go much further. Also, can I just say, Sylvester McCoy is at his A-game in this story, especially when it comes to these speeches. Part 1 and Part 4, particularly in his performance, is phenomenal. Part 2 and 3 is kind of not bad, but he doesn't have nothing really to work with. When you give Sylvester McCoy a speech, he goddamn owns it. Must be a Scottish thing. Yeah. Basically, these people are like these characters, the Doctor and Mel. They are a chaotic factor. They're not processed. They're not got chips in them. And so they can cause violence, they can cause harm. And so they implant a chip into the Doctor, to which he, which basically kind of, I don't think it turns him crazy, but something strange kind of happens. The Doctor kind of seems a little bit more passive-aggressive than usual, until somebody gets infected by this red madness, because apparently the Doctor is interconnected with the killer, somebody who's making the people turn everybody into angry mobsters, essentially. There's a great scene in which this character, who's basically like looking at everything on the viewing screen, is like, hold on, that doesn't make any sense. Play the clip of the guy suffering from red about to kill his wife, and play the Doctor at the same time. And what we start noticing is that the Doctor and this guy are saying the exact same words at the exact same time. When the Doctor snaps out of it, he believes that he killed someone, that it was him. He does get the sense that he could sense somebody else has killed someone, but all of that responsibility, all of that feeling of guilt is put onto the Doctor, and so he basically hates himself. This is one of the few stories where I actually like Mel's subplot more than the Doctor's. Really great plot. Basically, because Mel, something, I can't remember how or why, but Mel gets chucked out of the Needle. She gets, goes into the lower society with people who have the chips, but they decided they don't want to live underneath the mind of white noise. Now, we later learn that white noise can still alter their memories and stuff, but rather ignores them unless it's very important. For example, an unknown factor like Mel. And Mel meets up with this guy who originally threatens her and holds her as like a prisoner. And when he kind of clicks that she doesn't have an implant, that she can cause harm, he goes absolutely overjoyed for it, to the point where he's just so glad he can meet somebody who can cause pain. He's like, I should be scared of you, but I'm so excited. And I think he picks up a broken, a bottle, a glass bottle, and asks Mel to smash him over the head with it. I was like, I really don't want to do this. And it's kind of this is really mad. And after Mel actually does hit him and has a violent little life burst, this guy is just so fascinated with her. He keeps calling her Red because of the reference to her hair. But with the whole red thing going on, you might think it ties in with the villain of the piece. I guess in a way he is, but not like nothing's anything like specifically him. It's just like he just calls Mel Red because of her hair. And I think Mel gets like paralyzed at one point, so he brings her to her to his sister, and she has this some sort of a cure. It's called Slow, in which they put this thing in their ear, and it actually takes you out of time for 20 seconds, and Mel goes out of time so that she can be cured from her paralyzation. But suddenly the guy who Mel first met outside the Needle suddenly gets infected by the Red and starts trying to strangle Mel while she's like zoned out. However, when Mel's in the mindset, she can kind of hear him, but with like a completely different voice. And at one point as well, when the Doctor's unconscious, he actually interacts with Mel because the Doctor's a Time Lord, and that he is, because of his sensitivity with time, he can communicate with Mel. Later on, we kind of learn as well that one of the characters is a time traveller, but after White Noise heard this and understood this, he kind of wiped her memory of her being a time traveller or something like that. I'm not quite sure. And so the Doctor basically works out what the Red is, who is the killer. It turns out the Red is hatred made sentient due to the fact that all of the negative emotions that need for violence, that need for pain and suffering and loss and sorrow gets put into one place inside the programming of White Noise. And so Red became this sentient thing of pure pain and suffering and violence, kind of underneath White Noise. White Noise even gets infected by it by some point by claiming that he wants to murder Mel and the Doctor for being rogue elements in this society, which the leader character is like, that doesn't sound like you at all. I think that you might be infected by the Red as well, which is doesn't seem possible. It's just go listen to it. It's a very good story. The Doctor kind of works out as well that like the start of Red, the reason how something like this became sentient is because the girl who's the time traveller has something to do with her specific technology that brings sentience to. I don't know how, it doesn't really make much sense to me personally, but it sounds like it makes a lot of sense. That's the scientific tropes of sci-fi right there. And so the Doctor basically puts it under a trap where he basically goes into slow and basically taunts the Red to infect him. And again, we get some fantastic scenes of Sylvester McCoy just talking about like, I've destroyed entire planets, and I've enjoyed it sometimes. Come on, feed off me. You can take my violence. You will take my hatred. And I promise you, there are years and years and years that you can feed off with me. So come on, take me. So it reminds me of a lot of a darker version of the Rings of Akaten's speech, where in that story he's talking about love, love and loss and joy and sorrow. Here, it's the Seventh Doctor talking about just the sorrow and the misery that and the necessariness of it is what it needs to be for humanity. And so basically what the Doctor plans to do is kind of like as well kind of freeing, which is a great example of what makes the Seventh Doctor so good in his latest stories, which, like I said, this story is basically what if this darker incarnation of the Doctor was like this when he was with Mel. Essentially tricks the Red to in fact be inside the program of the White Noise, and basically tells Mel to put a program to basically destroy White Noise. So these people are technically free in some way, shape or form. Before basically that how the story ends, but I want to talk, before I wrap up this video, there's a really great scene I want to talk about. The woman who we earlier explained, the one who was like, I hope harm comes to you. She meets up with Mel at one point, and basically her joy, her fascination with violence becomes a obsession, and she kind of like begs Mel to hurt her, to cut her, to bruise her. Please, I just want you to hurt me. Really sadistic. Like I said, this story is bloody dark. I just really want to talk about that scene because that's a really powerfully acted, powerfully written. Just go listen to it. So yeah, Red. Overall, it is a fantastic story. It's the first story in our marathon of the Seventh Doctor era, which I could genuinely say is amazing. I just really got into it. Highly recommended from me, especially if you are a Seventh Doctor fan. Go listen to it. You won't be disappointed. Bonnie Lanford, like I said, her plot, her little plot with her meeting these two characters outside the Needle, is actually more interesting personally, because we get to see she kind of like befriends and has more of an interaction, whilst the Doctor's more of a, like an investigating on what the Red is. Mel is more like seeing the society and speaking and learning about how these people operate, and to see this whole world just basically come together is just maddening. It's just absolutely maddening. So yeah, go listen to it. And that's Red. So join me next time where we will be saying hello to some old friends, to some new friends, and we'll be saying goodbye to a friend. So join me next time for Dragonfire, and I'll see you all next time on the Doctor Who Marathon. Ta-da!